Good morning. Today I am reading from the seventh book in the Left Behind series. This book is called The Indwelling, and I'm going to be reading chapter 17 today. And I'll begin to read now. I trust Albie, Rayford said, but I don't like this. What do you think he's up to? Chloe said. I don't know. He's a pretty shrewd guy. The problem is that we have only one vehicle. Thanks for reminding me, Chloe said. I just wish he'd make arrangements for another car at Palwaukie. I don't like leaving Tyson and Kenny like this. Leah, strapped in the back seat, pressed her hands against the ceiling to keep herself from bouncing too high. How much farther, Daddy? She said. Chloe made a face, but Rayford said, at least one of us is keeping a sense of humor. David, Buck said on the phone. Albie wants to talk with you. What's happening there? I hear the crowd. Let's just say I pulled rank and appropriated an administrative golf cart. I'm on my way to mollify a public relation problem. At least I get to see Annie. Where are you guys? Not sure. I'll let you talk to the pilot. Buck handed the phone to Albie and listened as he peered out the window. David, my friend, good to talk with you again. I'm going to enjoy working with you. We're within 40 minutes of Palwaukie. If I represent myself as GC, will they ask for a security code? They will. Is there one I can use? He covered the phone. Buck, write this down. Okay, go ahead. 092349. Got it. So anything that starts with 09 will be okay in the future, and we'll go back through you for clearance. Good. Helicopter? Yes, we sure could. You can do that? GC? Perfect. I'll tell the tower it will be delivered when? Okay, I know we'll meet one day soon. David was struck by the variety in the crowds that lined the route to the courtyard. People of every ethnic background slowly moved toward the palace. Young and old, wealthy and poor, colorfully dressed. Many appeared shell-shocked, as if they truly didn't know what they would do without Nikolai Carpathia to lead them through such a tumultuous time. David called Mac. Where are you, Captain? Sector 94. Fun work. People must love that uniform. Yeah, they want to know if I know the Supreme Commander personally. And I'm sure you tell them how thrilled you are that you do. What do you want, David? I need you to make a couple of calls for me. Get hold of the tower at Palwaukie. And you got a pencil? Refer to security code 092349. Tell them they'll be hearing from one of our people who needs a hangar, an Egyptian fighter there. Someone will be picking him up along with two passengers, and they must not be detained for clearances and paperwork. We will handle all that from New Babylon. Then call our base in Rantoul. Illinois? Right. Tell them we need a chopper in Brookfield, Wisconsin. But all they have to do is get it as far as Palwaukie, and we'll take it from there. Tell Palwaukie Tower that too. Can you do that? Gee, I don't know, David. I'm better in the cockpit than on the phone. What's shaking? Where are you? Tell you later. Get on those calls and we'll talk. David arrived at Sector 53, where Annie was keeping the peace and keeping people moving. She answered questions about the times of the ceremony and the burial, and also told people how far it was to water, shade, medicine, and the like. In public, of course, she had to be formal with David. Welcome, David Hassid. I would like you to meet our very special guests from China. This is Mr. and Mrs. Wang, their daughter Ming Toy, who works with us in Belgium, and their son Chang. David bowed and shook hands all around. Mr. Wang was plainly unhappy. What language you speak, he said. Primarily English, David said. Also Hebrew. Oh, no good, Mr. Wang said. No Asian language? I'm sorry, no. You know German? I know German. English not good. No German. I apologize. We talk? I'd be honored, sir. You forgive bad English? Certainly. Perhaps your daughter can translate. No. You understand. I'll try. You insult no meet me at airport. I tell you, through daughter we come. I did get that word secondhand, sir, but I was too busy here. I apologize and ask your forgiveness. VIP, VIP, because of business. Give lots money to global community. Very big patriot. Global patriot. You are well known here, sir, and your daughter is highly regarded. Please accept my apologies on behalf of the entire GC management team for our inability to welcome you in the manner you deserve. David glanced at Chang and noticed the mark of the believer on his forehead. Will look forward to having him as a colleague when he's 18, sir. More than you can know. Whole family so sorry for Nikolai. Great man, great man. I'll pass along your sentiments to the Supreme Commander. I meet Supreme Commander. Have you? No, I want meet. I'm sorry, but we have been asked not to arrange any more personal meetings for him this week. You understand? Too many requests. Special seat. You arrange special seat? Oh, I don't know. That would be diff. Mr. Wong shook his head as his wife took his arm as to calm him. No meet at airport. No meet Supreme Commander. Way back in line. You get us up front. I'll see what I can do. No, you get special seat for funeral. We want in courtyard. I'll see what I can do. You see now. Tell us now. Take us now. David sighed and got on the phone. Yes, Margaret. Do we have any more VIP seating at all? I know. I know. 3. No. Daughter sit with us too. And you. 5. 5, Margaret. I know. I'm in a bit of a bind here. I'll owe you. Just inside the courtyard? That sounds fine. But I'm expected with administrative personnel in the. We sit with you. You can do. 4 join you in good seat. I'm having trouble appeasing him, Margaret. It's not your problem. No. Yes, it's mine. What's the best you can do? He did? Well, there you go. We can kill 2 birds, as they say. I owe you. I know. Thanks, Margaret. David turned back to them. It seems the sculptor wrongly arranged for his assistants to sit with him in the management section, and the Supreme Commander's office is going to reserve that. I know, understand. We sit there? Yes, the sculptor is going to be honored by standing next to the statue and having his assistants with him. We sit with you or not? Yes, you sit with me. Good. Daughter too? Yes. Good. Her new friend here too? He pressed, pointing at Annie. No, I wish. I really can't, Mr. Wong, Annie said. I must stay here during the ceremony. Okay, us then. In the wee hours of Sunday morning, Rayford barreled into Milwaukee Airport in a cloud of dust. The place was deserted except for a light in the tower. The only lit runway was one that accommodated jets. Rayford laid his head on the steering wheel. I just pray we're doing the right thing, he said. To have been so close to the safe house and not check on Tyson and Kinney. Leah leaned forward. And yet if the GC knows around there and don't discover the underground, we might give our people away by showing up. I know, he said, but I just. No, Chloe said. Dad's right. We need to take our chances and get there and get them out. You know what the GC are doing to Judite sympathizers? They killed everybody in Chaim's house and burned it. They killed Buck's dad and brother and burned their place. What happens if they don't find Tyson and Kenny, but burn the place anyway, because it's obvious we've been living there? How would they get out? Tyson would come running right up into a burning house. Chloe, Rayford said, I feel like we should play out Albie's scheme here, wherever it is, whatever it is. He can't know our situation. Buck has filled him in, and he's right that it makes no sense for some of us to go to the safe house while others wait here for a ride. This way, If it's obvious to the GC haven't been there, we need to get what we can and get out of there. That'll make 8 of us, including the baby, so we won't have room for much else. Surely Tyson will think to bring the computers and necessities. Rayford nodded. I'd better call him one more time, Chloe said. He may not think to bring the notebook with the co-op stuff. You don't have that on your computer, Leah said. Chloe gave her a look. I always keep hard copy backups. But you've got it on disk too, right? Chloe sighed and ignored her and phoned Tyson. David let the Wong family pile into the 2-seat golf cart, first pointing Ming Toy to the front seat next to him and Dad, Mom, and Chang to the back bench. But Mr. Wong wouldn't budge, muttered something about seat of honor, and Ming joined her mother and brother in the back. Mr. Wong sat straight, chest out, with a solemnly proud look as David carefully steered the cart through the throngs toward the palace courtyard. They are not seating dignitaries until 11:30, David said. They'll begin with the 10 regional postants and their entourages, then headquarter management personnel and their guests. They seat you right away, Mr. Wong said confidentially, and we with you. They'll follow protocol. I talked to Supreme Commander Leon Fortunato. He makes sure we seat right away. He's greeting dignitaries and getting set for the processional now, Mr. Wong. Let's just get to the staging area, and I'm sure they'll accommodate us in due time. I want sit now, good view, ready for program. He turned and grabbed his son's knee. This spectacular, eh? You work here someday, make proud, serve global community, honor memory of Carpathia. Chang did not respond. I know you want to, son. You not know how say it. Be patriot, like me, duty, honor, service. David pulled away up to the corral area where lesser dignitaries were already being led to a line that would eventually fill the VIP area. Manning the gate was Amal, a man with David's department. We'll take care of the cart, Amal said. You and your guests wait under the canopy by section G. Thanks, Amal. Introduce. You rude host. My apologies, David said. He introduced the family, emphasizing Mr. Wong's support of the GC. An honor, sir, Amal said, raising a brow at David. We sit now? No, sir, Amal said. You've been asked to wait in line at section. Big supporter of Carpathia, Fortunato, GC. No wait in line. No one sitting in seats. We sit there now. Oh, sir, I'm sorry. There'll be a processional. Very nice. Music. You all file in. No, sit now. Father, Ming said, it will be better, nicer to come in all at the same time. Mrs. Wong reached for her husband's arm, but he wrenched away. I go sit. You no want to sit now? You stay. Where seat? Ahmed looked to David, who shook his head. Mr. Amal, check sheet where I sit. Well, you're going to be in D3, sir, but no one. I sit, he said, pushing past, daring someone to stop him. He's only going to embarrass himself, David said. Let him go. Mr. Wong caused a stir in the crowd when he moved up the steps to the permanent amphitheater seating and began looking for his chair. Even people at the viewing platform were distracted and looked to see who was being seated already. Assuming he was someone important, some applauded, causing others to do the same. Soon everyone was aware that an Asian was in the VIP section, and they shaded their eyes to see if they recognized him. Must be the Asian state's potentate, someone near, David said. Mr. Wong acknowledged the crowd with a nod and a bow. He old fool, Mrs. Wong said, and her son and daughter erupted into laughter. We wait with Mr. Director Hasid. I'm afraid I'll have to join you later, David said. Will you be all right? Mrs. Wong looked lost, but Ming took her hand and assured David they would be fine. David went behind the stage to check progress on the technical aspects. Everything seemed to be in place, though there was a water shortage. The temperature was already 106 and climbing. GC personnel wore damp rags under their caps. Singers, dancers, and instrumentalists moved into place. Banks of monitors kept TV technicians aware of what was happening. David went up steps that led to the buyer from the back, pressing armed guards every few feet. He slipped in behind the canopy that kept the coffin and the guards out of the sun, which was directly overhead now. As he squinted out at the courtyard and beyond, the pavement emitted shimmering waves of heat, and a line moved more and more slowly. David saw many looking at their watches and deduced that they were trying to worm their way into up-front positions for the funeral ceremony. Once mourners were unwillingly urged past the bier, they would not be hurried away. They slowed, lingered, hoping to be stalled for the state of the festivities like some massive game of musical chairs. David peered past the armed guards to the glass coffin, wondering how it would hold up in this heat. The vacuum sealed looked secure and was checked every hour on the hour by the technician. Would the heat soften the box, build up steam like a pressure cooker? David looked for signs that the heat affected the makeup, wax, or putty Dr. Eckenberry had used. How embarrassing if the real body was cooling in the morgue when the phony one reached its melting point and turned into a pool before the world. "Stop the line, please," came the directive from the bullhorn down and behind David's right. Two guards hurried their way and stepped in front of a Dutch couple who had observed the occasion by appearing in native costume. They looked as if they regretted it already, red-faced, sweating and painting. They seemed pleased and panting. They seemed pleased, however, at being left first in line some 100 feet before the stairs. As they waited and the crowd behind them slowly came to a standstill of realization as well, the several dozen mourners ahead of them continued. When they had passed and started down the stairs on the other side, a wave of silence invaded the entire area. Everyone looked to the courtyard with expectancy. The only movement the last of the mourners trying to clear the exit stairs. They did not want to leave, but the program would not start until they did. The stragglers finally reached the bottom, and many sat directly on the pavement. They found it so hot that they began taking off garments to sit on. With everyone in place and still, the silence of 4 million plus was eerie. David slipped back down the steps behind the platform and saw that the staging area was full. Excuse me. Everyone in place, from Fortunato to his ministers, and all 10 regional potentates with their entourages, and that high-ranking GC personnel filled the line all the way out of the courtyard. From David's left, someone with a clipboard and headset signaled the director of the orchestra. With men in tuxedos and tails and women in full-length black dresses, the 100 members of the orchestra mounted the back steps and made their way out onto the platform at stage left. Sweat poured from their faces, and great dark stains spread under their arms and down their backs. Once seated, they brought instruments into position and waited for their cue. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the announcement over the massive public address system, echoing in the courtyard, resounding for nearly a mile, and followed by instant translation into 3 other major languages. Global Community Supreme Commander Leon Fortunato and the administration of the One World Government would like to express sincere thanks and appreciation for your presence at the memorial service for former Supreme Potentate Nikolai J. Carpathia. Please honor the occasion by removing head coverings during the performance by the Global Community International Orchestra of the anthem. Hail Carpathia, loving, divine, and strong. As the orchestra played the dirge, weeping broke out among the crowd until great sobs filled the courtyard. The global community vocal band filed in, singing praises to Nikolai. Eventually, a troupe of dancers who seemed to move in slow motion and show remarkable balance emoted with the music and mournful groaning of the audience. As they performed, the VIPs filed in to subdued but sustained applause. David finally made his way to the seat next to Mr. Wong, who gazed beautifully at the stage, tears streaming, both hands clutching his heart. David shaded his eyes and wondered if he himself was prepared to sit in this kind of heat for 2 hours. They were stage left with a clear view of the podium and coffin about 30 feet away. When the music finally ended, orchestra, singers, and dancers moved out, and Fortunato and the 10 potentates, grimace-faced, moved into position one row up and behind the bier. One more joined the 3 armed guards who had stood behind it, and they moved 2 to each end of the casket. The great screens and monitors showed a montage of Carpathia's life, beginning with his 5th birthday party in Romania, hugging his parents at high school graduation while holding some sort of trophy in each hand, being presented an award in college, winning an election in Romania, taking office as president there, speaking at the United Nations 3.5 years before, and presiding over various major functions after that. The music that accompanied the visuals was poignant and triumphant, and people began to clap and cheer. They reached fever pitch when Nikolai was shown announcing the new name of the One World Government, cutting the ribbon on the majestic palace and welcoming people to the gala just a week before in Jerusalem. Now fighter jets screamed in from the east and rumbled low over the event as the montage showed Carpathia mocking and challenging the 2 witnesses at the Wailing Wall. The crowd shouted and screamed with glee as he shot them dead. Of course, the show did not include their resurrections, which had been denounced a myth. The crowd fell silent and the jets swept out of earshot, and the music again turned melancholy. The screen showed Carpathia back at the gala, beginning with a long shot that showed much of the devastation from the earthquake. As the camera zoomed in on Nikolai, it changed to show motion as he responded to the welcome of the crowd, introduced James Rosenzweig, and joked with the potentates. Gasps and moans greeted the super slow motion replay of the turning away from a white puff of smoke on the crowd, rumbling over Dr. Rosenzweig and laying there as the crowds fled. The montage showed Nikolai being loaded onto a helicopter, GC logo emblazoned on the side, and here artistic license came into play. The screen showed the chopper lifting off from the stage, banking left between scaffolds and past great banks of lights, and almost disappearing into the darkness. The aircraft seemed to fly higher and higher until it pushed past the clouds and into the vastness of space. Higher and higher it went, to the delight of the largest live crowd ever assembled, until the helicopter itself seemed to fade. Now all they saw on the big screen were space and a large image taking shape. The fighter jets returned, but no one watched. They just listened and watched as the screen morphed into the image of a man white as the heavens, standing in mid-air among the palmettes in dramatic dark suit, white shirt and power tie, feet spread, arms folded across his chest, teeth gleaming, eyes flashing and confident, was Nikolai Carpathia, gazing lovingly down on the faithful. The image froze under Nikolai's benevolent gaze, and the roar from the crowd was deafening. All stood and wildly cheered and clapped and whistled. David had to stand to avoid being conspicuous, and while he clasped his hands in front of him, he glazed at Ming and Chang, who stood stone-faced. Chang with a tear rolling. David realized that no one was watching anyone else anyway. So complete was the devotion to Carpathia. The symbolism could not be lost on anyone. He may have been murdered, he may be dead, but Nikolai Carpathia is alive in our hearts, and he is divine, and he is in heaven watching over us. When finally the image disappeared and the music faded, Leon Fortunato stood at the lectern, his emotion-gripped face filling the screen. As Leon spread his notes before him, David noticed he was wearing a resplendent dark suit, white shirt, and power tie. It didn't work as well for poor Leon, but he apparently assumed his succession to the throne of the world, and he was giving the look all he had. I want to know if it was Hattie who gave us away, Chloe said, as the Egyptian jet came into view. We can't know that, Rayford said, unless she tells us. We can't contact her. Remember, it's a one-way street right now. Once the jet touched down, the light in the tower went off, and a fat older man came chugging down the steps and out the door. Here was a guy with a job to do, and he was going to do it. You're here to pick up GC personnel, am I right? He hollered. Affirmative, Rayford said. Your number match mine, 092349. Absolutely, Rayford said. Stay put, please. The airport is officially closed, and I must get the jet hangared and these people accommodated with dispatch. He hurried off to the edge of the runway and went through a series of gyrations with his clipboard that would have been more effective with a flashlight as he tried to guide Albie toward the hangars. This amused Rayford, who figured Albie had hangared as many small craft as anyone alive. And he didn't get the potassium chloride idea from any of women. And he watched as the jet steered a course straight at the tower man. He ran off the runway as the craft whined past and finished his signals with a flourish as if Albie had done precisely what he asked. As the man ran to be sure the plane got into the hangar, Chloe shot past him. Rayford headed that way too. As Leah waited by the car, it didn't take Rayford long to overtake the man, who clearly hadn't run around like this in ages. The door of the plane, which was parked next to the Gulfstream, popped open, and Albie was the first one off. Rayford couldn't believe it. Albie had a presence, a strut. He looked a foot taller. Carrying his big leather bag, he pointed at the man and said, You in charge here? Yes, I, 092349, GC Deputy Commander Marcus Elbaz, requesting service as arranged. Yes, sir, Mr. Captain Commander Deputy Commander, sir. Albie said, These people are with me. Let them help with my passengers. Refuel the plane overnight. Check. Oh, yes, check, sir. Now where can I change clothes? As the man pointed to a dark office at the end of the hangar, Chloe met Buck coming off the plane. Careful, Beg. Careful, he said, as she wrapped her arms around him. Let's go, Buck, she said. We've got to get to Kenny. Aliases, he whispered. Help with Dr. Rogoff. He's had surgery. Rayford climbed aboard to help with Chaim, who grinned stupidly at everyone and kept pointing to his forehead. Welcome to the family, Doctor, Rayford said, and Chaim's grin turned to a grimace to be put as he put weight on sore limbs and was helped off the plane. Rayford noticed that everyone was on edge with the tower man around, but that was quickly taken care of when Albie emerged in uniform. Amazing. We're all set then, are we, sir? Albie said. All set. I'll secure the door. We're not expecting any more traffic tonight. I stay on the grounds, so I'll personally be responsible for the security of your aircraft. Both of them? The Gulfstream is ours too. Oh, I was unaware of that. No problem. Thanks on behalf of the global community. Now we have to go. Leah had driven the Land Rover across the runway and into the hangar. She stayed behind the wheel while Rayford got in behind her and pulled Chaim in from the other side as Albie pushed. Shane was plainly in agony as he slid across the seat, but once in and supported on both sides, he laid his head back. Chloe sat next to Leah in the front with Buck on her right. As Leah backed up to pull out of the hangar, Chloe put her arm around her. Thanks for bringing the car over and forgive me. It's all right, Chloe, Leah said. Just tell me you didn't get the potassium chloride idea from any of my texts. I did, but right now I'm glad I know Tyson would never hurt Kenny. Leah sped back the way she had come and headed for the exit. Rayford turned to see the tower man securing the hangar door, and as they reached the road, the runway lights went out. Okay, Albie said, we need to get a few things out of the way first. Madam Driver? Leah, sir. Yes, ma'am. Could you turn on the overhead light back here? Leah fumbled for it, and Buck reached to flip the switch. Albie took off his uniform cap and turned toward Rayford. With little time to talk, just look, Captain. Rayford stared and blinked. The mark. Don't say anything right now, Albie said. There's too much to do. You can turn the light off, all right? Next order of business. Captain Steele, will you surrender command to me just for tonight? You have a plan? Of course. Carry on. How far are we from the safe house? Less than half an hour. All right, here's the plan. And that is the end of chapter 17. Next, I'll be reading chapter 18. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day.